What's up, y'all? Welcome to the DJ Kenny Parker Show, special Friday edition. I was chilling in the crib. I didn't have anything to do, so I decided to jump on and see who was up and who wasn't doing anything on a particular Friday night like me. Um, what's up to Flowetry? Always good to see you. What's good? Happy Friday on a check-in. I'm gonna wait and see if some more people check in. Um, we're just up here live on a Friday. I saw this question. Robert Thompson, what's up? Asked this question. Um, did you all complete the vision that you all had for BDP? Um, I think I might have answered this question a few months back, but I'll answer it again. And the answer to the question is I was not an original member of BDP. So, although I was around the group, I was not in the group. So, I didn't have an original vision for BDP. As I understand it, um, KRS-One, Scott LaRock, D Nice, it was mostly KRS-One and Scott LaRock. Their vision for BDP was for Boogie Down to be a production company, to be a record label, a group, and a production company, and put out other groups. So they wanted to do everything. Scott LaRock wanted to be a business mogul in the game. I'm pretty sure along with KRS-One, but I knew that was Scott LaRock's vision to have for Boogie Down Productions to be an all-in-one, one-stop shop. So the answer to the question is, did they complete the vision that they had for BDP? I would say, yeah, some of it. Boogie Down Productions never had what became their own record label. Of course, we know they were signed to B-Boy Records, which turned out to be a disaster. And then after that, Chris signed to Jive, but he did put out many artists after Scott passed. So Scott never even got a chance to see the vision. But KRS-One ended up putting out a bunch of artists. He had multiple record labels. He had Edutainer Records signed to Elektra in 1991. I believe that had Skidanks, Heather B, and the Heel Project. He also had Front Page Entertainment that worked with Channel Live, Supernatural, Mad Lion. So, KRS-One's vision for BDP, and he produced a lot too. So I would say overall, I would say yeah, they completed the vision, but that would be a question for KRS-One. I would say the answer to the question has absolutely got to be yes. I can't imagine what they would have wanted to do that was left on the table, that they never got a chance to do. But thank you so much for that question. Dukes Peasy, salute from London. Big up, KRS will be in London next month. I love London, man. Brixton Academy, we used to do that. There used to be a club called The Fridge that Jazzy B from Soul to Soul used to own. We used to come in there and rock out a few times back in the early 90s. Um, I love London. That's one of my favorite places on earth. Big Block, what up? Supreme Divine, what up? For those that's just checking in, it's a Friday. I just wanted to see who was around, what was going on. There's no special thing. I just was up and about. I didn't have much to do on a Friday night, so I wanted to see who wanted to hang with me for a little while. I see some of the regulars. Derek Mallory, salute from Minneapolis, St. Paul. Cold ass Minneapolis. Dope hip hop town, but damn, it's cold. Dan Marasuti, what up? Michael Campbell says, been a long while on the check-in. Yes, we normally do this Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come on, y'all. Y'all got to get on Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm just jumping in on a Friday just because from time to time I'm going to jump on in the middle of the week and just see what's up. Jason Walls is live from New York. It's Friday night. Word. Um, Gregory Nettis, what up? Says, yo, Kenny, what was your favorite cartoon growing up? Whoa, that's a great question. Probably as a little kid, I like the usual suspects, Bugs Bunny, Woody Woodpecker is probably my favorite when I was a kid. If Woody had gone to the police, this never would have happened. Y'all know that classic episode. Um, Later on, I used to love the Spider-Man, anything Marvel, like the Spider-Man superhero. That's probably was my favorite. The Spider-Man. Remember the Spider-Man cartoon that used to come on with the horrible graphics? That probably was my favorite. But Woody Woodpecker overall would have to be my guy. Bill Shapiro, nice surprise. Salute, Kenny. We in here. Thank you so much. Um, Gregory Netta says, yo, Kenny, how did you deal with the coronavirus? Another good question. And actually, I had the coronavirus early in the game before they even had the shutdown. I remember mid-March, probably like it was like a Wednesday. I was DJing in the clubs. I was DJing for 4 nights. And it was like a Wednesday. And I remember coming down with what I thought was a terrible chest cold. Like the worst chest cold I ever had in my life. I'm like, man, this is terrible. But I pushed through it. I DJ'd on that Wednesday. And then I came back the next day and DJ'd again on that Thursday. And they were talking about there's this virus going around, coronavirus, but don't be worried. It's not going to be any big deal. We're not trying to shut anything down. Um, they were acting like it wasn't a big deal. Just be aware that there was this coronavirus going around. That's how they were acting on like Wednesday. Thursday, they were like, we're shutting down New York City. It just came out of nowhere. New York City, we're shutting down New York City starting tomorrow. It will be like clubs will be closed. And I was like, damn, just like that for the foreseeable future. I remember still being super sick. I was in the club. The club was packed. As you know, people walking up to you asking for requests. I'm talking to people, people talking to me. I'm just spreading coronavirus. Somebody had probably gave it to me the week before. And I remember that Thursday, it was like, there's no need to come in on Friday because we're closing. So don't come in on Friday or Saturday. That's what I was told. And that ended up being a year. But I didn't even know I had coronavirus. I just knew I had the worst chest cold ever. And it lasted like 2 weeks. And then like months later, I took the antibodies test and it said that I didn't have coronavirus at that time, but I had had coronavirus in the past. Then I put two and two together. I was like, oh, that's why I was so sick a few months later. So I probably took the antibodies test probably in like June when they finally had everything set up in New York. So that means in March, I was sick and I had the virus, but thank goodness. And I had the virus. This is when they didn't even tell people to put on masks, and people just started passing away in New York by the hundreds a day. Do you people remember? New York probably got hit one of the hardest places in the country. They were piling up people in Central Park in Jacob Javits Center because the hospitals were full. They had no answer for you. If you caught it and you went to that hospital, you were done. And I actually caught it that early in the first week of March, and thankfully I was able to fight through it. So to answer your question, how did I deal with the coronavirus? I caught it and fought through it. Thank goodness. I had it early in the game. Danielle Don Freeman, what's up? Um, Duke Speedy said the fridge in Brixton was legendary. Chip Shop is the new spot in Brixton, London. Word, Chip Shop? I got to get out there. I needed to go to a dope club. I haven't been to a dope club in like 2 decades. The fridge in Brixton was definitely dope though. Chef Daddy, what up? Red, what up? Uh, Let's see. Dukes Peasy said, I got mad footage of KRS when he came to Chip Hop. He killed it as usual. Yes. Mr. Professor says, KP, what up, bro? Southwest Philly in here. Big up Philly, one of the dopest hip hop towns ever. We did mad shows in Philly. Big up to Will Smith, too, who just dropped the album or is about to come out. Nev Ed Official, what up? Says, yo, Kenny P on a Friday. Boo, boo, boo. Yes, I'm just checking in on a Friday to see who's hanging out. Um, the Village Voice Show says, what martial artist was your favorite? Of course, Bruce Lee, like everybody else. Um, and I like the movie The Five Deadly Venoms. That's probably my favorite karate flick. I haven't seen it since I was young, but The Five Deadly Venoms, it was probably my favorite karate movie, but Bruce Lee is the guy. Jamil says, what's up, Kenny? I heard KRS-One has some underground albums or unreleased music in the UK, releasing in the UK. I don't know, but I mean, Chris, maybe he recorded some music when he was out there with some artists, and maybe it's about to drop. There's so much underground KRS. I have KRS records, not a lot, but a few that never came out that I have. I have some vocals I probably could put a beat to. Um, CMC's techniques in class. Thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Says, yo, KP, in the 90s, the DJ battle scene was bananas, i.e. the movie Juice. Did you attend or participate in any of those in the New York? No, I've never been in a DJ battle. Have I ever attended one? No, funny enough, I've never attended a DJ battle. I think I've only attended MC battles, oddly enough. Um, no, to answer your question, I have never attended a DJ battle. And that battle in the movie Juice was dope. They used to have the battles at the New Music Seminar. Remember those? The world champion battles, but I never attended any of them. In the 90s, we were really, really busy though. We were doing so many shows. It was really hard. I mean, I did get my fair share of hanging out, so that's really no excuse. But no, I never attended a DJ battle. Would have been dope though. Um, let's see. Benny Doyle, what's good? What's the best slice in Brooklyn? I have not eaten pizza in Brooklyn in forever. I can't even answer that question. I thought the Bronx had the best pizza though. Uh-oh, am I starting something? Um, Flochi One says, Kenny, it sounds like you and Biz were really buddies. I was watching a Rob Bass It Takes Two video yesterday, and Biz was all in that video, yes. Do you have any Rob Bass stories? I do not. Only thing I can say is I saw DJ Easy Rock in Jersey City in the supermarket. I recognized him, but I didn't speak to him. I didn't know him. I recognized him. Um, and I think he recognized me, but we didn't say anything to each other. But it was definitely DJ Easy Rock. Rest in peace to him. Have I ever met Rob Bass? Maybe once. I know when I was not a member of BDP, but when I was in school, I went with KRS BDP to a show in Atlantic City. I think it was 88. When was It Takes Two was popping? Like 88? I went with them to a show. It was Boogie Down Productions and Rob Bass in Atlantic City. And I remember seeing him perform um, at that show. But I don't think I've ever met Rob Bass. If I did, it might have been briefly. So no, I do not have any Rob Bass stories. But of course, me and Biz were really close. I mean, I've told a bunch of Biz stories. Once again, my whole relationship with Biz is in this book. I go into great detail. The link is in the description below if you haven't got it already. And like I said, I did a bit BDP versus Biz, and I told some Biz stories there. on this channel, and I also talked about how much not only I loved Biz, but so did my brother. And then I did the Biz video last week, and I still have more Biz stories. Me and Biz used to spend days together, just hanging out, going all over the place. He was like a big kid. We used to go to carnivals and the movies, and he just would go shopping for pro kid sneakers. He was just like, it was like being around a gigantic child. He was the best though. I miss him dearly. Last time I spoke to him was a few months before he went in the hospital. He was like, yo, you need to come to my house. He had some 45s that I wanted that he was gonna give me. He's like, come to the crib. And I was like, cool. And then he got sick. I don't want to mess up your name. Lamessa Q, open them packs, fool. Woo, that's a lot. So shout out to Heather B. Big up to Heather B. I just spoke to her like 3 days ago. Jamil says, we are waiting on you to release some unreleased KRS-One music. Yeah, I would. The thing is that um, with the copyright and the publishing, there's a publishing involved. So when you release new music from KRS, it has to have a whole publishing company. There's people that are in business with KRS-One on the publishing side. And it's like a whole procedure. I can't just like throw stuff out there because then it would be a brand new song, which means there would have to be publishing splits and all kind of things. Because I have BDP, I think I've mentioned this before, I have BDP practice tapes going back. Chris used to come to my house and we used to make tapes. I would play a beat on the SP1200 and he would just work out rhymes and work out routines. Some of them became songs. I have a few of those. I have tapes with him and Red Alert DJing in the 80s. I have a tape with him and Scott LaRock before Criminal Minded came out, them rapping on stuff that became the Criminal Minded album. I have this stuff in my possession. I was saving it to release like a whole BDP practice tape album, but I just got to get the permission to put it out. But yeah, and I have some other, like I said, I have some vocals from like 2000, so that's 25 years ago, from Chris that I can release. Patrick Wise says, good evening, each and everyone. KP keeping us on our toes. What brings us here on a Friday night? Actually, nothing. I was just, for those that normally check in, we on a Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is our normal time. But I was sitting in the crib on a Friday. I had nothing to do. I wanted to see who else was around, hanging around, who wanted to chill. So I said, I have a different background. I'm on my iPad. And I was like, let me just check in and see who's around. And I see quite a few people, quite a few of the regulars. This is dope. I'm gonna hang out for a little while if y'all want to talk about whatever. Oh, I saw that Gemini the Gifted One. I just saw this on Facebook. Somebody said, rest in peace to Gemini the Gifted One. Do you remember him? I think he had a song out in like late 94, early 95. I just saw that he passed away. I don't know if that's true, but it came across my feed on Facebook. If so, here we go again, another week with another one of our brothers and sisters, hip hop brothers and sisters have passed. Rest in peace to him, man. Red, did you know any of the executioners? I don't think I did. I do. Might have met some of them in passing, but I was never like hanging with any of the executions as far as I know. Gregory Netta says, yo, Kenny, remember the 1994 NBA Finals between the Knicks and the Rockets, and the left corner was the white Bronco O.J. Simpson chase? Absolutely, I remember. I was watching that game. I was a huge Knick fan at that time. John Starks was my guy. I really believe The Knicks were not supposed, but I really believe that we had the best chance to win a championship that year. But that African Hakeem Olajuwon was unbelievable. He was in his peak and would not let the Knicks win. And shout out to Sam Cassell, hit that shot. I think it was game 3. That was a backbreaker. He misses that shot, the Knicks probably win a championship. But I do remember that because I was watching the game when they broke into the game to show the OJ chase. Jay Woo, what it do? KP, what's the best Jamaican food in New York? That's a great question. I'm not sure, but I believe if you want Jamaican food, you either got to go to Flatbush, Brooklyn, which is practically little Jamaica, or up in Queens. I would believe that either in Queens or Brooklyn, Flatbush, to be exact, would have the best Jamaican food. Somebody might say, I know everybody gonna say, no, I got this spot, I got that spot, but I'm going Flatbush, either Flatbush or Queens. That's who all the Jamaicans are, really. Not all, but you know. Patrick Watts says the Bronx does have the best pizza. Nick's on Gun Hill Road by the fire train used to be the standard, but they fell off a bit. Yo, when I was a kid, that Bronx pizza used to be incredible. Engage me on YouTube. What up? Says went to a DJ battle and Rakim performed in between sessions. That's crazy. The God performed at a DJ battle. That's dope. Sweet Goldilocks, what up? JWoo72 says, shout out to the Rewind crew. Yes, hopefully the Rewind crew will get a surprise and see that we just on here on a Friday night just talking shit. Gregory Nader says, is Rob Bass a one-hit wonder? I never like to use the term one-hit wonder because it has a connotation that having one hit is a bad thing. Getting a hit record is so incredibly difficult. It's almost like getting struck by lightning. To have one hit record probably puts you in the upper 0.5 percentile. Like you're in the 99.5, you're in that 0.5 percentile of all the artists who ever lived if you could get one hit record. So I don't usually use that term one hit wonder, but for Rob Bass, I think Joy and Pain, I don't know if that wasn't a big record, but it was a record that was playing. But that It Takes Two, man, that was just, I think that was the biggest record of 88. Was it 89? I think it was 88. That record was a monster. Platinum single. That time, having a platinum single was ridiculous. Jason Wall says, I'm sorry, but the funniest line in hip-hop history is Shantae saying KRS-One sounds like a whack radio station. That was a funny line. Shout out to the Big Daddy Kane who wrote that. Supreme Divine said, I never cared for cartoons as a kid. What? Said my favorite show was The Incredible Hulk. I love The Incredible Hulk. Shout out to Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. I've probably seen every one of those episodes. Remember the reporter who always believed that we should chase the Hulk around and always believed it was a Hulk and nobody would believe him? Lethal Five Flow says Biz had a beautiful wife and a huge classic toy collection. Biz had a ridiculous toy collection, a ridiculous record collection, and he had like video games in his basement, but not little handheld, the actual big video game that you would find in a candy store. Remember back when we used to go and put a quarter in the machine and play like Pac-Man or whatever? Biz had like a bunch of those in his basement, like real Pac-Man machines that you put a quarter in. He had like all the games in his basement, big old machines. I was like, Biz, you are bugging. Yeah, he used to collect stuff like that. I see Biz all the time. Me and Willie D was laughing at him because he had on a pair of old school Pro Keds. Probably cost back in the day they were like $8. He had a pair of old school. This was in like 2000. No, this was like in like 90 97. He had on a pair of old school Pro Keds and like a $50,000 Rolex on. Like Biggs, you got on a pair of $8 sneakers and a $50,000 watch. Something like that. He was crazy, man. Um, Jason Wilson, Rod Bass had Joy and Pain. That was also kind of big. Yeah. I don't know what that sold, but it used to play a lot. Let's see. Ah, Spook Ram 4Q in the building. What up? Um, Ridge says, the Edo G and the Bulldogs have any other hits other than I Gotta Have It? You know what's funny about Edo G and the Bulldogs? And shout out to them. I might have been the second person ever to play that record. People who produced the record, shout out to the Awesome Two. That was their group, Edo G and the Bulldogs. I remember DJing in a club, SOBs, the legendary SOBs. BDP had a night on, I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and it was called the Kenny Parker Show. Me and Kid Capri talked about that when he was on the show, and everybody used to be there. It was like one of the hottest spots for a little while, the Kenny Parker Show, and I was DJing there, and people would walk up to me and hand me records. And the Awesome Two walked up to me and was like, "Yo, this is our new group, LOG and the Bulldogs." And he handed me the record. It was white label still, and I put it on the needle. I listened to it. As soon as I heard the beat, I get brown like it, I get hard like an erection. As soon as I heard that first 8 bars, I was like, "Oh, this is fire!" And I threw it right on, bang, like my next record. So outside of the people that produced the song, I believe I was the second person to ever play at OG and the Bulldogs at SOBs. I had the white label test press. Um, how they have any other hits? How they had Be a Father to Your Child? I don't know if that was a hit, but I used to like that song. And Bugaboo. I don't think they had a record as big as I Gotta Have It. I think I Gotta Have It went to #1 on Billboard Rap Chart. That was a dope record. Um, Benny Dill says, was Scott LaRock a better ball player than Kenny Parker? I heard he could play Schoolie D too. I go into great detail about my adventures with Scott LaRock and basketball in the book. Um, I'm not even going to answer that question. For those that didn't get the book, get the book. It's in there. There's quite a few people that could ball. I didn't know Schoolie D could ball. I didn't know that. Henry Sedillo, what's up? Says Kenny P. Who had one of the best box crates albums collection you ever encountered? Box crates. You mean like the milk carton crates? Well, see, I've heard of legendary collections like Chuck Chill Out, who's on Kiss FM, legendary DJ, said he thought he had a lot of records until he went to Red Alert's house. He said DJ Red Alert had one of the most ridiculous record collections ever. When I was talking to Red Alert, he said his record collection was nothing compared to Africa Bambaataa. So from what I heard, Africa Bambaataa had the illest record collection ever. From what I saw, like I mentioned earlier, Biz Markie had the illest record collection I had ever seen. And I saw his collection in like, I'm talking like 91, 92, like 92. He had ridiculous. He had everything. He had a crazy 45s. He had everything in like 92. And he just kept collecting, kept collecting. And I was about to go to his house and go through some records. And then he got sick, man. Never Ed Official said there's no such thing as too much Kenny Parker show. Word. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We on a Friday night just BSing, y'all. Ed OG says, Jason Wall said Ed OG had to be a father to a child. Like I mentioned, I was kind of big. I don't know if it wasn't as big as the first single, but it got a lot of play. Lethal Flow says Biz Markie tallest to rap is underrated. Absolutely. And that beat was ridiculously hard. Duke's PC says Prince Pope confirmed Gemini passing. Booking Kids was fire, and I still play Scars and Pain EP. RIP. Yeah, man. Um, Rest in peace to Gemini the Gifted One. I just heard that today. Um, MK Ultra, what up? MK Ultra. CMC says Hakeem the Dream. Yeah, man. Hakeem the Dream is one of the. I have him right under Wilt and Kareem as like the greatest center of all time. On the offensive and defensive end, he was an absolute marvel. Gregory Nettis talk about John Starks choke. Yes, John Starks had a terrible game 7, but he had a fantastic game 5 and 6. Matter of fact, in game 6, he almost won the game for the Knicks. Go back and watch game 6. That's why they let John Starks shoot so much in game 7, because he was on fire in game 6. And I believe the last second shot, John Starks got that clean look from 3. He had scored something like 16 or 17 points in a row, if I recall. And he had that clean look from 3. He was on fire. And Hakeem Olajuwon got his finger, a 7-foot center, came all the way from the paint and came out there and got his finger on that ball and just scraped it and blocked that shot. I believe if Hakeem Olajuwon didn't hit that shot, the Knicks had, at that point, a 50-50, better than a 50-50 chance, because Starks was on fire. He had a better than 50-50 chance to win that championship. If that shot had went down, the Knicks would have won. That still pains me, man. Henry Cedillo says, Kenny P, did you make it to DJ Scott LaRock funeral? No, I did not. Let's see. Patrick Wise says, KP, if Ewing came out in 84, who do you think would have been the number 1 pick, him or Hakeem? I still think you go Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing was, at that time, they had just won the championship in 84 too, because they lost the championship in 85 to Villanova, one of the craziest championship games I ever seen in my life, in 85. In 84, they had just beat Olajuwon. I mean, they beat Phi Slamma Jamma for the championship. At that time, Patrick Ewing was projected to be one of the greatest centers we had ever seen in 84. Olajuwon was not yet Olajuwon yet. The following year, he developed more, and then he got better as he went along in his pro career. But I still think in 84, Patrick Ewing would have went 1 over Jordan, because Jordan went 3. I think it would have been Patrick Ewing, Olajuwon, and I still think the Bulls would have picked Jordan at 3. Because the reason why Portland didn't pick Jordan at 2 is because they needed a center, so they picked Sam Bowie instead of Michael Jordan, which is one of the biggest blunders in the history of sports. But if Patrick Ewing and Olajuwon had came out in 84, one of those 2 would have went 2nd. So the Bulls still would have picked Jordan at 3rd. So I think Jordan would have been on the Bulls no matter what. Okay, that's a lot of me running my mouth about basketball. I love talking old school basketball though. Jamil says, Kenny, did you do the Return of the Boom Back video mix? No, because it was crazy, and I thought it should have been released as a single. And I noticed you're in the video, classic album. Yes, I am in the video. It was like a collage of a bunch of different songs. I still think I wish they had picked one song and made it a single, because I think people got confused with the collage, like which one is the single. I think they got confused. I think Jive was trying to sell the whole album as one thing, but I think it probably should have been a single, a third single, um, off that album, which I think Jive blew that album too, by the way. The album had Out of Here as the first single, Sound of the Police as the second single, and then that medley. I thought it was a third, should have been a third single on there. But I did not do that mix. Um, Dream Crusher says one hit is way better than none, and I agree with that 100%. Um, it's astronomically better than one. I know people with one song that's been touring with that one song for decades. And there's people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars in publishing, just in publishing, for writing one hit record. That record has fed them and their family, sent their kids to college. And when they pass, their kids and their grandkids will still eat off of this one song. People have no idea what it really means to have a hit record, how it could really change your life as an artist, change your life, the record company's life, your family's life. Give me one hit, man. That's why people be like, so and so, they be like, so and so, he's just a one hit wonder. I'm like, just, man, you don't understand what a hit record is and how hard it is to have a hit record. On another top, on a real quick point, last Tuesday, I was talking about people getting jerked in the music business and how um, little money the artists actually get in royalties. And something just came across my feed yesterday on social media. It was talking about In Vogue. I think it's because Dawn Robinson had mentioned that she was sleeping in her car, which to me is not even fathomable. Um, that In Vogue, the group was getting 2 cents a record. 2 cents for the group, for them. 2 cents a record. They sold millions. They were getting 2 cents a record. That's criminal, man. Spook Realm says, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you're not already, and buy the book. Yes, thank you so much, Spook Realm 4Q. If Please hit the like button if you get a chance. It helps the algorithm, helps like-minded people find the channel. Yeah, and get the book if you don't have the book. Big Block says It Takes Two is the biggest record of '88. Yeah, I do believe the biggest single rap song of '88 was It Takes Two. Shout out to Teddy Riley. He was like 16, 17 and made that beat. Ridiculous. I don't think he gets talked about enough for his production. Supreme Divine, I always have and will always love Biz Markie. Me too. What a genuine person. And what you saw on videos and stuff is exactly how he was in real life. Biz Markie is easily the funniest person I ever met in my life. Whatever you saw, like, and watching him in videos, imagine that in real life, hanging with him. Just all day jokes and laughing and just, but he was very smart though. Very smart, very strategic with his career. We had many conversations about music and different artists and just very smart. Let me scroll down a little bit. Benny Doyle, scroll down. Um, let's see. Patrick Sargent said Kenny got a haircut. Not really. My hair is usually I just usually keep it low. Um, let's see. Oh, that's right. Big Block said he got sued for Joy and Pain. I thought I heard something like that because back in '88, the sampling laws were real sketchy still. Um, but that's obviously Frankie Beverly and Maze. On this channel, I did an epic fail called Samples Cleared, called All Samples Cleared. And I go into 3 stories about clearances that are funny that I ran into in my BDP days. Just 3 of many. If you guys did not get a chance to check out All Samples Cleared, Epic Fails, I did it about 2 years ago on here. Please check that out. Um, I hear raindrops on my window. It's raining here. Divine Existence says R.I.P. Gemini, the gifted one. The funk soul sensation was dope. Yes, R.I.P. to him. You were just talking about that earlier, man. Let's see. I'm scrolling down. Reggie Johnson says, you almost caught me slipping. Thank you, Reggie Johnson, for checking it out on Friday. I just jumped on. I didn't really give much notice. I just wanted to see who was hanging out. I was in the crib on a Friday. I just wanted to shout out the people. Flochi One says DJ still warm-up shows with It Takes Two. It's crazy big. Yeah, it's still huge. There's like, I've seen a couple of commercials with that song still. That song is almost 40 years old, 38 years old, something like that. And it's still one of the greatest records ever. Imagine that. Supreme Divine says, when I think of Flatbush, I think about Busta Rhymes. Yeah, he rep Flat? He's mentioned that he grew up in Flatbush. I always thought he repped Long Island. Of course, I grew up in Flatbush, so I'm very familiar with Flatbush. When I think of Flatbush, I think of special ed. Dan Marasucci says Biz is the only DJ with many 1200s. Yes, he is. Um, can never really get the story straight about how he got them, but I do believe they were a prototype that was about to come out, and then they didn't come out, but somehow Biz got his hands on them. Um, and when he used to pull those out, all the DJs, used to be all the DJs with all the 45s, and everybody was like competing to see who got the dopest 45s. When Biz pulled out the 45 1200s, it was over. um, let's see. Um, Benny Doyle says, even though he's not in the mix, can you serenade anyway? What up, anyway? He's not on today. He's usually in on a Tuesday, so shout out to him. Um, let's see. People talking about Patrick Ewing. Patrick Sargent said Ralph Sampson and Sam Bowie, what a bust. I think Ralph Sampson um injuries hurt him. And he was like one of the first, he was like Wemby is today. He's like one of the first real tall big men. He was more like a small forward that was 7'4". He never was really banging in the post. And back in those days, you 7'4", you got to get on that block, man, and bang out. Um, but he still made the Hall of Fame. Now Sam Bowie, on the other hand, luxury picks, luxury picks. Says, salute Kenny. I see the plaques in the background. Did the studio album by KRS-One went gold? Um, Studio album by KRS-One. Do you mean the one titled KRS-One? No, that did not go gold, if I recall. The only KRS-One solo album that went gold is this one, I Got Next, went gold. Um, that's one of his biggest albums, by the way. That came in #3 in the country when it dropped. Uh, but the album, KRS-One self-titled album did not go gold as of yet. I mean, it could still go over the hump. But it did not go gold to my recollection. Let's see. Hip Hop Junkie Plus says Vanilla Ice still tours off Ice Ice Baby 35 years later. Exactly. And imagine as maligned as that song was in the hip hop audience, their album still went diamond. And there's still a bunch of people who bought that song. They be doing these shows like this is what I call the 90s. And they'll throw out like Vanilla Ice, uh, Salt and Pepper, Bell Biv DeVoe. They'll just throw out a bunch of people that had CNC Music Factory. They'll throw out a bunch of people who had a song in the 90s, and everybody would do like one or two songs. I remember Biz used to tell me how he would be on those shows, these 90s shows, because he would just come out and do one song, Just a Friend. Like to them, he had one song. And he would come out and do Just a Friend and step off with a check. But Vanilla Ice still does those kind of tours. I'm not mad at him, man. Get your money. I think Rob Bass still do those kind of shows. Um, Brooklyn Geek said, "What up, family? Fridays with KP, not bad at all." Yes, big up Brooklyn Geek. We just on here on a Friday. I don't know how long I'm gonna stay on, but I just want to see who was around just to shout people out. It was a Friday. I was in the crib. I was like, let me jump on my iPad and see what's up. This is one of the greatest comments in the history of my channel, which I always talk about. Lethal 5 Flow says, marketing and promotion plays a huge part in getting a hit record. It's not always based on talent. That is one of the truest statements ever. If you understand the music business, that is one of the truest statements ever. Although you can have marketing and promotion and still not have a hit. There's people who got huge marketing promotion and still the song didn't resonate with the people. And then there's once in a blue moon, maybe once a year or something, some song just comes out of nowhere that nobody was thinking about. Either an independent record, some small artist, a B-side, some record on an album that one DJ decided to play and it caught on, something like that, and it'll just go. But for the most part, marketing promotion is a huge part. One day I want to do a whole breakdown of my opinion on hit records because um I really would like to get rid of that term one hit wonder if I could. That would be like my mission. Hip Hop Junkie Plus says I saw In Vogue live in 2020 with New Kids on the Block, Salt and Pepper, Rick Ashley. One of the best shows I've seen. All the artists sounded good. Yeah, that's them kind of shows where they will throw on random people from back in the day. Rick Astley hasn't had a hit since when is his song was big? 87? When was Never Gonna Give You up? Was it 86, 87? You talking damn near 40 years ago. He's still eating. I'm not mad. Let's see. Gregory Netter said, what was the funniest person besides Biz? Wow. Well, Biz is way up there. He's the funniest person I ever met. There's a guy I went to college with. Shout out to my man I used to play ball with. His name was Eddie Brown. He was from Atlantic City. Shout out to Eddie Brown. He is the second funniest person I ever met in my life. He's the funniest civilian I ever met in my life. Eddie Brown from Atlantic City. And those are my two top. Uh KRS is pretty funny too. Um, Chris has one of the driest, funniest, wittiest senses of humor. If you got to know him, he's really funny. Um, I'm just thinking of people who, whenever I'm around them, I laugh a lot. When me and Chris are together, we laugh a lot. He is really funny, and like has like an offbeat sense of humor, man. And he always says things that I have to challenge. I don't know if he says it because he knows I'm going to challenge him or what, but he'll say something. I'll be like, hell no. And that'll just start a whole big funny argument, man. Um, Lethal Flow, once again, coincidentally, I was watching Death Row Chronicles yesterday on YouTube. They said Dr. Dre was getting 2 cents a record before Suge got him out of his contract. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. 2 cents. And you know who signed it? You know who gave him the 2 cents? His man, Easy E, the guy who he convinced to rap and help him put together his song. His man gave him 2 cents a record. 2 cents. The record company was making $6, $7 a record and gave him 2 cents. Then Suge got him out of his contract, but then that turned into something else. And he had to walk away from millions. Delbert Prince, what up, man? It's been a long time I have checked out your podcast. Where you been? I remember that name. Where you been at, man? Tuesday, 8 o'clock. Come on. Engage says, Kenny, Biz helped a girl that had way too much to drink. The club had closed and we were helping the Biz. Was the greatest. Thankful I got to meet him and hang out. Yeah, Biz was just mad cool, man. Biz was the first person, not the first person, but to take me to, you ever know in every hood, there's like a chicken spot, and it's usually run by um Middle Eastern guys making chicken. And it's usually called like Crown Chicken or Kennedy Fried Chicken or something. And they got the crazy good, greasy ass chicken. And the first time I ever had good chicken was Heather B put me on a place called Crown Chicken in Jersey City. Heather was very familiar with the hood. She's from Jersey City, and she took me to this place called Crown Chicken. And I never had chicken that good. I was like, man, forget Kentucky Fried Chicken. Whatever they have, that's the secret recipe. And the second time was Biz was like, yo, I got the spot. And man was driving around in Newark at like 3 o'clock in the morning, Newark, New Jersey. And he took me to some chicken spot with the super greasy chicken that was banging. And Biz kept going, I told you, I told you. Oh my God, I could talk about Biz for days. Um, let's see. Spook Realm says, Yo, Kenny, your plaques are really effing with my OCD, big dog. Oh, really? It's like a distraction. I maybe next time I will have a different location with just a more uh bland background. My bad, Spook Realm. Although in my other location, which is over there, I usually have the plaques. Maybe it's in a different spot, different perspective. BJ Cook says, "Were you involved with the REM song?" No, I was not. I just remember that Michael Stipe of REM was a big KRS-One fan, and they went in the studio and did that song, radio song. I got a chance to meet REM, not REM, well, Michael Stipe of REM, but I had nothing to do with that song. Jason Wall says UTFOs from Flatbush, Wingate High School. I did not know that. Used to play mad ball in Wingate. Wingate has a park connected to it that they do concerts and stuff there. They also have a lot of basketball courts. Me and my brother used to play there dozens of times for years. My brother actually slept out there too when he was homeless. Very familiar with Wingate Park. Brooklyn Geek says, Buster moved from Flatbush young, but he's still halfway down. Special Ed gave our hood its name in rap. Yeah. He said straight from Brooklyn. He said straight from Flatbush, Brooklyn in the house. Um, Here's something funny. Me and my friends used to work I used to be a member of the Flatbush Boys Club, which is on Bedford Avenue across the street from Erasmus Hall High School. And then after I was a member, I became a counselor there. And then I left. And me and my friends were counselors, but one of my friends used to be a counselor there. And one of the kids who he used to supervise was Special Ed. He got a picture of Special Ed as a little ass boy in the boys club on Flatbush, on Bedford Avenue in Flatbush. So my man used to be Special Ed's counselor in Flatbush. Um, who else is from Flat? I do believe Shaggy used to live in Flatbush too. Trying to think who else, because I went to grammar school in Flatbush. I'm very familiar with Flatbush. Um, let's see. Let me scroll down a little bit. For those that's just checking in, y'all, it's a Friday night live special. We just jumped on. Normally we do Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but today we just jumping in on a Friday, um, just to see what's up. Luxury Pick says, how long did it take you to learn the SB1200? Great question. I'm still learning, by the way, but how I got the SB1200, very expensive machines, like $2,000. Back in 1989, it was $2,000. And we used to rock it in the live shows. BDP pioneered rocking the SB1200 live. Um, and I was telling Chris, I was DJing for like a year, and I started telling Chris that I wanted to start working on production. I wanted to start sampling and learning how to make beats. He was like, "Oh, word? All right, here's the SP1200 that we used to use on the road." He said, "Here's the SP1200. Here's the instruction booklet. Go." Like that. Go. And I got the SP1200. I tried to read the book. The book was like, might as well have been in another language. I couldn't understand the book at all. So we had an engineer. His name was D Square. Shout out to D Square. I called him up and I was like, "Can you show me how to work it?" And I went to the studio and he walked me through the basics. Like, this is how you sample. This is what you're trying to do. This is how much time you have. And then I went back home and I just got on the machine. I just remember just banging out. I got stuck one time and I called D Square. He walked me through one more thing. So this had to be like 2 weeks. In like 2 weeks, I was on it. And then I just started making beats, skeletons of beats. And 6 months later, Chris comes back to me and he was like almost like a homework assignment. He says, "Okay, so you had the SP1200 for 6 months. What do you got?" Like that. And what I had was the beats that ended up being on Sex and Violence album. The very first thing I played him was We In There, which became the first song that I ever worked with him on. That I had that beat. That was about 6 months in from working on the SP 1200. So it took me about 2 weeks to figure out what exactly I was trying to do. Then it probably took me like another few weeks to find where all the buttons were. So say like a month to really feel my way around. And then just working on my technique, how to truncate and stuff like that, how to get good levels. So how long did it take to learn the SP 1200? For me, like initially like a month. And then my first beats that started coming out was like 6 months later. Quinte Star says Busta Rhymes New York shit. He mentions everybody but special ed. What's the beef? I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe he just forgot. I don't know. That's a good question. Um, I don't know. Let's see. Cool Kev 75 says Vanderveer Projects. Laugh out loud. Cool Kev, you don't even understand my history of Vanderveer Project. Um, Vanderveer Projects, for those that don't know, is in Flatbush, and it was one of the most notorious projects ever. um, we used to live 3 blocks away. What was my address? 14 something Forster Avenue. Vanderveer is on Forster Avenue. We lived on Forster and Rogers, which is like 3 blocks away. There's a school connected to Vanderveer Projects called PS 269. I went to that school in the 4th grade. I did 4th grade at PS 269, and my brother went to that school. He did 5th grade at PS 269. We used to play in that park. I assume you're very familiar with Vanderveer. There's a park there. It's not as much stuff in there like it was when we were kids. And my mother used to work in Vanderveer. Um, Vanderveer had like a uh, rental office, and there was like a ramp that goes downstairs. It's like a laundromat and a rental office. My mother used to work in that rental office, so I'm very familiar with Vanderveer Projects, and it was rough. Um, let's see. Delbert Prince, question, Kenny, where did Buckshot Shorty grow up at? I do believe he grew up in Bushwick. I do believe that Bucktown, home of the original gun clappers, I do believe Bushwick is Bucktown. I know Evil D and Mr. Walt, the beat miners, are from Bushwick. Uh, and I do believe that Buckshot is from there too. And Bushwick Bill from the Ghetto Boys is from Bushwick, Brooklyn. That's how he got the name Bushwick Bill. I do believe Mr. Walt told me that he went to like grammar school with Bushwick Bill, like he was in like his 3rd grade class. Brooklyn Geek says, "Cool Kev, Barbara Streisand grew up in Vanderbilt Projects." Word? I knew she went to Erasmus Hall High School, which is on Flatbush and Church. It's not Flatbush and Church. Flatbush. What's the next block over? Is it Tilden? Between Church and Tilden, something like that. I knew Barbara Streisand went to Erasmus Hall High School, but I didn't know she lived in Vanderveer. Barbara Streisand is hood? Oh my God. That's funny. Cool Kev says, Kenny, I know you know about Tennis Court and Ocean Avenue. Of course. Ocean Avenue was rough too. Yo. Cool Kev, you digging up some real gangster spots, man. We used to also live, my family lived all over. We used to live on East 21st Street between Regent Place and Ocean Avenue. The most hood spot I ever lived in my life. East 21st between Regent and Ocean Avenue. We was all over there. We was all over Flatbush, man. Red says industry rule number 4080. Record company people are shady. One of Q-Tip's most famous lines. And I actually disagree with that line. I think calling record company people shady is nice. I think Q-Tip was nice to them. Shady is like 2 or 3 steps up from what they actually are. These people are the scum of the earth. Shady, there's record company people out there right now going, wow, Q-Tip really loves us. He only called us shady. That's our guy. Hell yeah, I hate them all, man. MK Ultra says, best chat on YouTube, all positive. I mean, we try to keep it positive on here. We try to have a certain level of intelligence. I appreciate it. Like-minded people that come on. We just be trying to learn. I try to learn from you guys about hip hop. You guys put me up on stuff. Just people that love the hip hop culture and just try to share ideas and opinions. Um, we actually passed an hour on here. I can't believe it. On a Friday. I'm gonna go a little longer, y'all. Um, if y'all want to hang out a little bit more, Lethal Fro says, I heard a lot of stories that Biggie was a comedian. I know the times that I chill with Biggie, we wasn't really. The times that I chill with Biggie was more like outside, like in clubs and stuff. He wasn't really that. I mean, I seen him laugh, but he wasn't like funny, like cracking jokes. Like some people joke all the time, like Biz. It's non-stop jokes, man. Charles 13X says, Kenny, listen to your big brother. You'll forever be little bro. Yeah. And he still looks at me like that too, I believe. Yeah, you are correct. Even though we are very close in age, me and Chris are only 10 months apart. So we didn't really grow up like big brother, little brother. Matter of fact, get the book. As a matter of fact, when we were growing up, I was more the lead. I always say this, and people don't really believe me. I was really the lead. I used to bring Chris with me everywhere, and he's like a less than a year older, but I was the lead all the way up until hip hop. And then it switched. Then he became the lead. Up until that point, up until we was like 16, 17, I was the lead. Everything that I did, he was doing, except rap. That was his thing. Patrick Sargent said New Edition definitely got jerked. Everybody got jerked. Every single rap. We talked about this last week. I'm not gonna harp on it too much, but every artist, with the exception of Master P, whoever owned the label, Master P, Luke, and Hove. I believe every single artist ever in the history of rap and music got jerked, except them three. If you didn't own the record company, you got jerked. Charles 13X says, nah, them plaques are dope as fuck. Thank you. Let's see if I move my head. This is Biz Markie plaque for Biz's second album, Going Gold. He had the gold album and the platinum single, Just a Friend, and the gold album. And I got a gold album from him. And I believe this is I Get Next. And this one is Edutain. Is this? Yeah, Edutainment. The Kenny Parker show was on this one. I didn't do anything on I Got Next, but I still got a plaque, though. And please, I have an epic fails called Gold Plaques. If you guys have not seen these epic fails, there's an epic fails called Gold Plaques. Tell you the story of how I got this plaque, and it's wild. Please, if you get a chance, we don't do anything else when we get off from here. on this channel. I did about 2 years ago. These are old ones. Go back and look at gold plaques, epic fails. And I'll tell you how I got these plaques. Ross said we had a Crowns here, but it changed its name to Pizza Bowl. It got to be a Crown, man. Got to be a Crown or a Kennedy. One of them areas. Yo, Brooklyn Geek says, Brownsville, Brooklyn. First of all, when you say Brownsville, everybody always got to fix their shirt because you get a little chill in your spine. If you're from Brooklyn, you know Brownsville is the most dangerous place on earth. So when you say, as soon as you see Brownsville, Brooklyn, you're like, ugh. You have several intersections that have 3 or more chicken spots open at 3 a.m. on a Friday, and they be packed. Absolutely. With that same greasy, the rolls be hard as hell, but that chicken, I don't know what's in that chicken, but it's amazing. The grease, the crunch. I don't know how they do it. They be having these little pies, like peach cobblers, that's like a diabetic stroke waiting to happen. But, yo, yeah, man. Let's see. Marquis Bankroll says Wingate Park is a good place to work out outdoors. Has weights, a track, and machines. I didn't know it had weights and stuff. I know there's a big track out there, and they do concerts out there. I saw quite a few people perform in the summertime there. But we used to be out there balling. I played so much ball in there. Brooklyn Geek says Shaggy is from Flatbush too. I thought I met Shaggy in Flatbush. Cool Kev says Shaggy's from Canarsie. Canarsie is that like the next town or next section over? I believe it's like Flatbush and then East Flatbush. And then if you go in one direction, you start heading towards the 90s, which is Brownsville. Don't do that. And then I think another direction is Canarsie, right? Canarsie used to be nice when I was growing up. Lethal Flow says Howie T, Chubb Rock, and Full Force are from Flatbush. I did not know. Chubb Rock, nah, he says, I'm from St. James between Gates and Green. In the song Treat 'Em Right, he says, I always, something never mean. I'm a St. John's between Gates and Green. That's in Bed-Stuy. That's right by where Biggie grew up. I don't know if he's from Flatbush, but he shouted out Bed-Stuy on his record. Howie T, he's probably from Flatbush. That's how him and Special Ed hooked up. Patrick Wise says Tried by 12. Yes, the East Flatbush Project with one of the illest, most rapped over tracks of all time. That was one that guitar loop. That was ridiculous. I'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6. I'll sign a book at your funeral. That's a good one, Patrick. Why? East Flatbush Connect. That's the real flat. They named their group East Flatbush. You can't beat that. They're the realest Flatbush crew out. You name your group Flatbush. Patrick Sargent said that's phenomenal, Kenny. Quickly learner. I mean, yeah, I mean, I was on, but it was every single day though. Let's see. Howie, Cool Kev says Howie T is from Glenwood and Schenectady. That's a few ways out. We used to also live, we used to live on East 35th and Church. That's like in our most formative years. We used to live on East 35th Street and Church Avenue. So Glenwood would be one block over and then up, because Schenectady is like what? After Troy and them, that's after the 40s. So you're talking probably 8 blocks away from Howie T we used to live. Yeah, I know that area well. Um, Brooklyn Geek says you could not walk by Vanderbilt unless you knew someone or you would 100 get hurt. Absolutely. Yo, Vanderbilt was off the hook. And it got worse in the 80s, I believe. I was in Vanderbilt in the 70s and it was crazy. Then it got worse. But I was in Vanderbilt every day. Not in the Vanderbilt projects, but around the Vanderbilt. Because like I said, I went to grammar school there. My mother worked there. We used to do our laundry there. On the weekend, we used to walk the 3 blocks to Vanderbilt to do the laundry there. Yeah, Vanderbilt was ridiculous. I think they changed the name now because Vanderbilt has such a bad connotation that now it's like I think they call it something different to try to get the money. Lethal Five Flow says Vanderbilt, Jimmy Henchman. Oh, Jimmy Henchman is from Vanderbilt? What there you have it. Say no more. Say no more, man. Brooklyn Geek says Buck grew up in Crown Heights. A word? Okay. Crown Heights is the next town over from Flatbush in another direction. It's like in different directions you go, you get to different sections. I also lived in Crown Heights, my family. We moved a lot, y'all. We used to live on Prospect Place, right by the Franklin Avenue shuttle. Let's go. Brooklyn all day. Hip Hop Junkie Plus says R.I.P. Bushwick Bill. Yeah, I got to meet him one time. Brooklyn Geek says Church and Snyder. Well, I think Church and Snyder run uh, parallel. But yeah, my man used to live on Snyder and East 34th. I used to be over there all man. I'm gonna stop talking about Flatbush, but we was all over that place. Charles 13X says bloodsuckers of the poor. I do believe you're talking about the music business. Yes. They pillaged our community for the talent and made billions of dollars off of the talent. It's a crime. The music business is the worst business arrangement outside of, and excuse my French, I don't know if I can say this on YouTube, but I'm gonna say it. Outside of pimps and hoes, music business might be up there with the worst. And that's in pimps and hoes are legal. For legal, it might be the worst in America. Patrick Sargent said Jive RCA was definitely shady, I heard. Yeah, but Jive RCA was shady, less shady than other people. Jive RCA, and I was not signed to Jive, so I was not part of those business conversations, but Chris was, and I've heard him talk about it many times. Jive was standard whack. There's levels of whack, like Def Jam. I mean, I'm not going to try to diss, but just listen to De La Soul talk about Tommy Boy. You can just go down the list. Listen to how people talk about Cold Chillin'. Marley Marl said he never got a royalty check until he did LL Cool J, Mama Said Knock You Out. And that was on Def Jam. That was in 1990. That means all the Juice Crew stuff he did, he said he never got a check until he did something outside of Cold Chillin'. And I say that to say Jive RCA is average terrible. There's levels. It gets worse. I could tell y'all stories for days, man. Some of these people are my friends, so I'm not going to disrespect them. I know a lot of these record executives, but these contracts were terrible. Terrible. Benedict Yakubian says, hi, Kenny. I saw D Nice on a cooking show contest. Word? Would you do a cooking show with Chris? I can't cook to save my life, but Chris can cook. I would do it, but I would be terrible. I'd probably be the joke on the show. I can make eggs pretty good, to me. Anathema says Irish twins. Yeah, that's what they call people born that close together. Me and Chris are practically Irish twins. Triggs 9802 says Kenny on a Friday. Word. I'm just in here on the check-in, just saying what's up. I'm gonna jump off in a minute. We had an hour and 20. I just wanted to say what's up to the people. I wasn't doing anything. And I just wanted to check in and see who was just rocking. What's good? God willing, we'll be back on Tuesday. And I got some more guests coming soon. Brandon Yakubian says, did you play against Kenny the Jet Smith in high school? No, I did not. Kenny the Jet was like a couple of years ahead of me. I remember reading about him in the newspaper. He was a big star. He was an All-American, high school All-American. But I never got a chance to play against him. Plus, he was in the Catholic League, and I was in the public school league. So they didn't play that much unless you got further down, like into the playoffs. But no, I did not play against Kenny the Jet. But I heard he was ridiculous in high school. He was ridiculous in college. He was ridiculous in the pros. Hannibal says that explains why you question what he was doing every step of the way when he first came out. I guess you mean me and Chris's relationship. Yes, if you read the book, you would know that our relationship was not what people think it was back then. We were younger. I was absolutely the lead, like by far. Trigg says Jay Prince didn't get jerked. Well, he wasn't a rapper. He owned. You're talking about the older Jay Prince. We're not talking about the younger one, right? The older one owned Rap-A-Lot Records. So he's not going to get jerked because he's the owner. Now, the question we'd have to ask is, the Ghetto Boys and Scarface, were they happy with their contract? Devin the Dude, wasn't he on Rap-A-Lot? These are the people we'd have to talk to. Sure, Jay Prince didn't get jerked. He was an owner. Charles 13X says, I don't know why, but I prefer gold plaques. They mean more to the culture. Well, I mean, a platinum album, that's twice. Gold is 500,000. Platinum is 1,000,000. If you were signed to a record company, you would definitely would love platinum more than gold. Plus, you get bonuses when you go gold and platinum. But then they would tell you didn't go gold even though you did, so they wouldn't have to give you the bonus. But that's another story. In other countries like Canada, they have a silver award for 250,000. You get a silver plaque, which I believe they should have in America because it's that hard to sell 250,000 records. Is so hard. To sell 50,000 records is so hard that if you sell 250 in other countries, that's an award. 250 should get you an award. That probably puts you in the top 90%, 95%. I think there should be a silver plaque as well for 250. But they got gold and they got platinum, then they got multi-platinum. Then they got diamond. That's 10 million. Oh my God. There's only a handful of groups that ever went diamond. And they have I believe there's like 40 or something diamond albums. And you're talking about there's probably like 2 million, 1 point something million albums that's been released since the when they started releasing the 20s, or the 1920s or 1930s, something like that. When they started releasing albums, there's been 1 point something million different titles released in America. There's been about 40 out of that 1 point something million that are diamond, which is 10 million. And out of those diamond, I would probably say the majority of those are compilation albums. Like Bob Marley, the best of Bob Marley is diamond, or like uh those rock groups like the best of Pink Floyd or one of the best of AC/DC or something like that. Those albums are diamond, but those are like a compilation of all of the greatest hits. So people could be like, I never got this one, I never got this one, but this one album has everything and people buy it. Those go diamond, a few of those. But it's very rare for a solo art or one artist to go diamond by himself with the album in its lifespan. And then you got like double albums get counted twice. So let's say Biggie's album, Ready to Die, or Tupac's album, what is it? What's the double album? Me Against the World? The double album when he first came out on Death Row. That double album, or even Outkast album, The Love Below, Speaker Box. Those albums really sold 5 million copies, but because they were double albums, they got counted twice. So really, Ready to Die and those albums, they sold, I'm gonna say only, because only not is not really only, but they sold 5 million, but they're technically diamond because they were double albums. Now, when you're talking about in its span to sell, you're talking about Michael Jackson is like in America, like 26 million. He's like double diamond plus six. Ridiculous. I think Whitney Houston's first album sold 20 million. These are one artist, double diamond. And you got like Mariah Carey got like 2 diamond albums. I think Britney Spears got one. Usher got one. Hammer, Vanilla Ice, Milli Vanilli. There's like a few. There's probably like 15 or 20 that's like solo artists. That's like a real testament. Shaggy's album went diamond too. The one with It Wasn't Me. I just got into a rant about record sales, but to go diamond is unbelievable. I think 50 Get Rich or Die Trying was at like 9 million and something. So that probably went over the hump. Eminem got 2, I think. But Prince, Purple Rain is diamond. There's a few that went diamond in its lifespan. That's an incredible amount of record sales, man. Unbelievable. But I say all that to say gold is incredible, especially for rap, especially in the 80s. To go gold in the 80s was for a rap album was unheard of. And then in the 90s when rap got bigger, then it was platinum, but gold is still the standard. That's why you get a plaque. Okay, we're at an hour and a half of me running my mouth about gold albums. Let me scroll all the way down so I can get some of these last comments. And I just jumped, y'all. Let's see. Brooklyn Geek says 50 Cent Get Rich or Die was diamond. Yeah. That took a minute, but yeah. All Eyes on Me, but that was the name of the album. Yeah, not Me Against the World. All Eyes on Me is a double album. That's diamond, but because it's double. Nelly went diamond. I knew he was at like 8 or 9. Did it go over the hump? That's big. I didn't know that one. So some albums was close. Yeah, Hammer, Please Don't Hurt 'Em. Um, I didn't know Lauryn Hill went diamond. I thought she was close. Um, I didn't know. I didn't know she went over the hump. I knew Hammer. Hip Hop Junkie says, I think Purple Rain is Prince's only diamond album. Me too. I think that is the one. I think that sold 13 million. The Bodyguard soundtrack is diamond. And that Whitney might have like two or three. Her first two albums is probably diamond and the Bodyguard soundtrack. Whitney's ridiculous. Says Michael Jackson, of course, diamond, and I do believe Bad and Thriller. New Kids on the Block. I forgot about them. They was huge for a second. And I'm gonna throw in Sync, those In Sync and Backstreet Boys, they probably up there too. Because I know Britney got a couple. Patrick Sargent said Jay-Z. I don't think Jay-Z has a diamond album. B-Bo Johnson says Eminem has 3, including his greatest hits. God damn, Marshall. The greatest hits is, that's like I said, I could see a greatest hits going diamond. Um, but the second two albums, his second two albums, to go diamond like that. Oh, what's this girl's name? Adele went diamond just a couple years ago. I didn't think it was possible for anyone else to ever go diamond. But Adele's last album went diamond in like 6 months. In this day and age, ridiculous. Oh shit, the Beastie Boys License to Ill got certified diamond in the 2000s. I did not know that. Word? I didn't know that was even close. Shout out to the Beastie Boys. I didn't know that. Never got a chance to meet the Beastie Boys. We did a couple shows with them though. Bob Marley Legend, that's the one, stays on the catalog charts every year. Yeah, that would be there forever. Forever and ever and ever and ever. I think only groups like the Eagles or Pink Floyd have a greatest hits that consistently sells better every year. Yeah. Um, those greatest hits will be around forever and ever and ever. Hip Hop Junkie says gold was major. Gold, yeah, was major, especially in the 80s, early 90s. Um, Fuji's went diamond. Are you sure about that? I know they sold something like 17 million, but that was worldwide. Worldwide doesn't count. Um, it's in America. So you can sell 17 million worldwide, but you could be like at 8 or 7 in America. But they could have. I mean, it's been decades. Each year you get a little more, a little more, a little more. Um, Lethal Five Four says Outkast went diamond, I believe. Yes, but it was a double album. I'm not gonna disrespect. I'm just saying it was a double album, so it gets counted twice. So really, it was like 5 million. Charles 13X says Hammer's Please Don't Hurt Him was the first hip hop album to go diamond. I could see that. Hammer and Vanilla Ice went diamond that year. Crazy. Crazy. Uh, B-Boy Jones says Thriller might be the greatest album ever. It could be. Greatest as far as impact on the world, but I'm sure there's other albums that's probably artistically considered better. Some people argue was Off the Wall was better than Thriller. I've been in arguments with people, and I've been in with real consideration that was Thriller even Michael Jackson's greatest album? Because Off the Wall, song for song, is right there. I'm gonna get Thriller the edge, but Off the Wall is right there, man. Patrick Sargent says Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift went diamond? I didn't know that. I mean, I'm sure she could have. Beyonce never went diamond. I see people say Pink Floyd. Yeah, Hip Hop Dream said Adele might be the newest artist to have a diamond album. Adele's probably the first artist in decades to have a diamond. I didn't even think by the way record sales are today, I didn't even think it was possible to go diamond. I think what Adele went diamond probably what 4 years ago when her album dropped, 4 or 5 years ago. I would say before 2020, the last person to go diamond probably Eminem or one of them in like the early 2000s. Eminem or NSYNC or one of them. No, when did Usher's album went diamond? That's like 04, 05, and 50. So that's probably like 04, 05. Those dudes went diamond. And then it probably from then probably to like 2020 or something. That is an unbelievable feat, man. Patrick Sargent said, crazy, sexy, cool. That might have did it. That might have did it. I know some of these albums were close. That might have did it. Especially sometimes they reissue albums. And plus, a lot of albums got the benefit of coming out vinyl and cassette only, right? And then this new format called CD comes out. And then a bunch of people go back and repurchase the album on CD. So some of these diamond albums, one person might have 3 copies or 2 copies in different formats. Not trying to take away, I'm just saying that CDs helped a lot. Vincent Ross says self-destruction. It takes a nation of millions of hoes back and 300 rounds should have went diamond. Absolutely, but hip hop at that time wasn't even. Hip hop was at a goal, even though It Takes a Nation sold double platinum, which is ridiculous in '88. 3 Feet High is platinum, ridiculous, and Self-Destruction was a gold single. I mean, it did its numbers for its day. We had an hour and 36, y'all. I know I'm on here too long. I'm gonna jump off. This is DJ Kenny Parker, Friday night edition. Big up to the Rewind crew. Any of y'all that might check this out later on today or tonight. Yeah, I just decided to jump on a Friday. God willing, I will catch you guys on Tuesday. I'm gonna scroll down real quick. Gregory Netta said Lauryn Hill went diamond. I did not know that. It probably took. Vincent Ross said, Kenny, did Synchronicity by the Police go diamond? I'm pretty sure that was at like 8 million in the 80s. I'm pretty sure an album like that. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that Synchronicity probably went diamond. B-Boy Jones says Pebbles robbed TLC too. Dude, we can go down the list. B-Boy Jones says, I got 5 copies of Illmatic. I had a lot of copies of Illmatic too. I got them from the record company though. All right, y'all, we're gonna jump off. Thank y'all guys so much for jumping on with me. We just had a good time. I'm just running my mouth. I appreciate you guys, man. I'm gonna catch you guys on a Tuesday. Big up to the Rewind crew. And I'm gonna catch you guys on Tuesday. All right, y'all. Big up. Have a great weekend. Peace.